All right, it's 7 o'clock. Time to start our Planning Commission meeting. If you would all please rise. Alderman Young will lead us in prayer and then the Pledge of Allegiance.
If you pray with me, please. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this beautiful day you've given us. God, I want to pray for those that have been restoring power and removing debris and working long hours and trying to care for our community, Lord. Pray that you'd watch over and protect them. Lord, I thank you for the many blessings that you have given us. God, I pray that you just continue to grant us wisdom on this board to do the best interest of this city. Lord, I pray for all those who place themselves in harm's way for our benefit, and I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first order of business. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting?
Yes.
Are there any corrections? Hearing none, can I get a motion?
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Call a roll, please.
Jay Kaufman. Paul Kaiser.
Here.
David Hunt.
Here.
Jim Lamb.
Yes.
Mayor Parsons. Alderman Young.
Yes.
Mandy Young. Curtis Sigler.
Yes.
John Conroy.
Yes. All right, our first order of new business then is a public hearing for a special use permit application for a car wash at 5905 Stage Road. To start off this discussion, we'll hear from Director Taylor.
The applicant, Cindy Reeves with SR Consulting Services, on behalf of the proposed car wash owners, is requesting a special use permit for the construction and operation of a new car wash to be located at 5905 Stage Road. This property is located within the CGMS General Business Main Street Overlay Zoning District. According to Article 5, Chart 1 of the Bartlett Zoning Ordinance, a special use permit is required in the CG General Business Zoning District to operate a car wash. The surrounding uses include an adjacent car wash, medical office, a library, a bank, and other miscellaneous offices and restaurants. Staff has reviewed this request and recommend approval of a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen with the attached conditions. Should the Board of Mayor and Aldermen approve this special use permit, then the applicant will be required to return to this commission with both a subdivision and site plan application. Thank you.
Okay, questions for Director Taylor?
So I've got a couple questions. Ms. Taylor, in the description of the project, it says that this project is CGMS, which is General Business, on the Main Street Overlay Zoning District. What does that in detail?
So the CG is the underlying zoning, which is general commercial.
Right.
And all the uses that are permitted, it's contained within our zoning ordinance, and this particular use requires a special use permit. The Main Street Overlay District is a set of design guidelines for the development of the building. However, those guidelines are somewhat, you either follow them or you can ask for relief from them. But if you follow them, there are certain benefits to the developer if he follows them. For example, he can have a setback as far as 5 feet from the sidewalk or the right-of-way versus having the normal CG setback. So if he decides to go with the overlay, he gets that setback, but he also has to do a design to fit in with the old Bartlett look.
Okay, so what you're saying is he has an option of doing one or the other?
Yes.
Does this fit within the historic district by any chance? I don't think it does, but I wanted to...
Well, no, because this isn't the historic district. The historic district is mainly the residential area, but then the old Bartlett area is somewhat of a historic district, but not necessarily called the historic district. So the only thing that would make it fit in design-wise would be if the applicant decided that he wanted to move forward with the Main Street overlay design guidelines.
Okay. I guess we can agree to disagree, but I don't know why we would have a Main Street overlay zoning if a developer has the options of doing one or the other. If one's more stringent than the other, I know which one I would pick if I was a developer. I mean, if this falls within a Main Street overlay district where the building needs to be, 5 feet off the property line like it is up and down stage in this town, this part of Old Bartlett, just like on the west side of the railroad tracks. All of those buildings are right up on the sidewalk and all the parking's behind it. I guess my issue with this development is there again, not knowing which car wash this is going to be, whether it's Take 5 or Express, whatever. There's 2 or 3 of them that's popping up everywhere now. But with these vacuums that are visible from the main road, I don't think that's very appealing, and I don't think it's something the city of Bartlett would want as a main entry point into the city. So that's
this particular company, I believe it's called Glide, and they are also in Collierville.
Okay.
And the setback, the 5-foot setback is the minimum, not the maximum, if they were to go with the Main Street overlay design.
Okay, all right. So are they going to tear down all the trees that's along the front right-of-way there?
Yes, they're going to have their own landscape plan.
I don't like that either. And that's 2-story building?
It's a 1-story building, but it has kind of like a 2-story look about it.
Does that monument sign fit within the town ordinance,
That
city ordinance?
monument sign is just a placeholder. It's not the design. They'd have to come back to the Design Review Commission for the actual design of the building,
Right.
the landscaping, and the signage.
Right. I know we as a board don't approve that aspect, but
I'm
I'm glad they brought that because that wasn't in our package. I didn't know what it was going to at least look like. At least they do have the brick veneer that does match the look, I guess, coming up and down that street. Most area, especially the car wash next to it, is a brick.
That kind of sign is not permitted by our ordinance either. I mean, if they wanted to pursue a sign of that sort, they would have to appeal it eventually to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And so it's my understanding if we do approve, or one way or the other, whether we don't or if we do approve this tonight, they have the option of going to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. And then eventually, if they approve it, it would come back to us for site plan approval.
Well, they will go to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen whether you give a favorable or
Right.
non-favorable recommendation, and then the board will make the final approval.
Okay. They will give the final approval, but I guess, again, the master plan and the subdivision plans will come back to this board for approval.
Yes, yes, that is correct. The subdivision plans and a site plan application.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Director Taylor?
I did have one.
Sure.
Is this considered Bartlett Station?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And as far as the surrounding neighbors, are they okay with this? Do we have any idea
We
is
did
any
get
feedback?
some letters of opposition. Melissa has, I believe, 2, and then a picture that someone sent. That was just a picture of the traffic on Stage Road.
Right. And I think the last concern I had was the building so close next door, the new medical office there. Is there going to be enough buffer there to keep the noise and all that down there?
From the medical office?
Yeah, for the medical office?
There's no requirement for a buffer between 2 commercial uses. The buffer is required between commercial and residential, where residential backs up against commercial. The medical office owner is the actual seller of the land where the car wash will be located. And so it is his land that they will be creating a 2-lot subdivision along with another smaller lot over there for the car wash.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else for Director Taylor? Thank you, Ken. Would the applicant please come forward? Please state your name and address for the record.
Cindy Reeves, SR Consulting, 5909 Shelby Oaks Drive, Suite 200.
Clinton Harrington, 1020 Mont Cascades, Rockwall, Texas.
Have you had a chance to look at the staff report? Are you in agreement with the conditions and comments?
Yes, sir, we have, and we are in agreement.
Questions for the applicant?
Are there going to be any issues for traffic in and out of this establishment?
We don't think that there will be. We've got 2 sites on Germantown Parkway, which operates similar to this, but except they actually have a median, which makes it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
So we think that this site will flow a little better than the 2 Germantown sites.
Okay.
All right, let's do this, though. Let's get the right graphic up on the screen, and could you explain to us exactly how the traffic flow is going to be onto and through the site?
Mm-hmm.
You want to use that one, or is there a better one?
No, that's the exact one. So your car goes in, he takes a left in front of the building, he goes around, he goes through the gate, and there's an express lane for members only, and then a regular lane if you want to just pay for a wash. Then you go through the car wash. It's an unusual kind of car wash. You don't go through rails. Your tires don't go through rails. They go on like an escalator belt, and they just glide through the car wash itself. And then you go around to where the vacuum centers are. And they also have the cloths for you to wipe off your car. They usually have 3 to 4 staff members on site each day. It's very well staffed compared to what most car washes are, in my opinion. They have the air hose, they have the vacuum. It's a it's an upscale car wash, to be accurate. So it's very nice.
And I'll add on the exit, we have a preliminary approved driveway exiting to Stage Road that has a right in and a right out, and then a left in. So just for traffic, people can go left or right. And then this drive right here going through the point here is a one-way. So it's kind of a nice flow, the way that works, and that's existing.
That was a question I had. Your entrances and exits as drawn on what we looked at looked like the cars have to cross each other.
Yeah, that car's not supposed to be there in that drawing. That
Okay.
Probably for conceptual. As far as, and that's also to Commissioner Singler's, the landscaping plan on here is just a concept. We're going to try to keep those trees because they're there and they look pretty. So the landscaping is just a concept, but the building is kind of what we were looking at here architecturally.
What's your hours of operation now?
It's basically sun up to sundown, but it's 7 to 8 right now. We're not open after dark.
6 days, 7 days?
Oh, 7 days.
Did I hear you say that the proposed driveway to the far west there, is that a right in, right out?
It's got a right turn and a left turn out, and
Okay.
then an inner.
Okay, yeah, it does, okay.
We think that makes the most sense, just from a traffic standpoint. And DOT approved that as well.
They have approved that driveway?
Verbally and in writing.
Okay, all
I
right.
thought it was a good idea.
Can I mention something? TDOT has approved that proposed driveway.
Preliminarily, yes.
'Cause-
It's not plans submitted, but
Okay.
are you TDOT?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm John with the city.
Okay.
We would recommend that middle driveway not be allowed. We think a common ingress, egress, easement right here on the left will function satisfactorily. We don't think we need another driveway on Stage Road, particularly in this area. And so our recommendation is not allowing that western driveway, but doing a shared entrance and exit right here between the 2 lots.
So if you do that, the only way in would be that one where the white arrow is, the eastern. So they would have to, that's the only way to get in and out, and then they would have to go around behind one point to exit. Okay?
Is that a one-way drive right now?
Yes,
It is.
it is.
And there's also, once you get to our drive, you can see how it gets pretty small right there. And it's max 24 feet, that's like bare minimum on 2 cars.
The existing driveway?
The existing driveway, but when you see where the choke point is, that's where they have a little curve that kind of sticks out on the care.
But if you widen
the
it to the
building.
west, you could have a shared driveway.
Oh, I see what
coming
you're saying.
in And out right there, you could eliminate the one to the west. Hey, we didn't rule it out, we just
Yeah.
mentioned that we may need to reject this one. TDOT may need to reject it because it's right across the street from the library, the VSMC. There's a lot of driveways there, and we just don't think it's a good location. But maybe there's something we can work out between.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely, between now and mayor and board, definitely.
So John, just to confirm, you were talking about widening the drive where that blue pickup truck is shown?
Yes, right where the hand is right there. Perhaps widen that to where it's a shared. A lot of your 2-lot. This is going to end up being, if I'm correct, a 2-lot commercial subdivision.
Correct.
So a lot of times what we recommend is for one entrance and exit to be shared for those 2 lots
Right.
with an easement, and that way there's not an additional driveway that's added to a roadway like Stage Road that is so busy and it already has so many driveways. And there's, just on the other side, just to the west, the existing car wash has a curb cut as well. So,
Well, I think one reason we chose that, obviously, because we were thinking flow, but there's an existing cut right there as well. So it kind of seemed like, maybe y'all would approve that. But we can look on. I mean, our thing is safety, cars coming in and out, entering the road. That's what we want. So.
And I'm just wondering, with the applicant, would you be willing, and I don't see anything here except once you get all the way down to the end where you enter into the car wash, where there would be a gate that would, allow someone who's paid to go in. The way this is set up now, it looks like anybody could go over there to the vacuums. And I'm just thinking that, you allow an area for just anybody to go, and you could get dumping there, you could get things you don't want on your property there. And I think just to minimize having people that don't need to just be hanging out over there, if only the one driveway is allowed, if there's something where that monument sign or something in that area would have a gate, the same thing.
I've noticed all the car washes except ours around here. There's Cuba, the Take 5, the Zibs, they have the gates. Mm-hmm. And we have a no tolerance policy on that. We have 3 to 4 employees on site, and we haven't had any problems with loitering. We got signs posted. We got 24 cameras on site.
I was about to say, you said though at 8 p.m. everybody's gone.
Yeah, I mean, we have the signs. We don't allow loud music. I mean, I took some pictures of it, and surprisingly, people have. We haven't had any problems with that. The gate sounds good, but the sites, I don't know if how we can. That's kind of hard to manage. That seems to slow the process up, which is kind of a traffic issue, potentially. But I mean, I'm open to it. We've looked at it. We just haven't had any problems because we're on site. We got cameras that's well lit, and we have our on-site manager. Something to the driveway. So it's an existing one-way. So that guy, all his parking, when you go around the building, everything's kind of designed for the one-way. And so if people come in this driveway who widen it, then they're going to be crossing over people exiting.
Isn't there a driveway on the other side of the building, on that medical building? I've been there and I'm trying to think.
It comes out. It's a one-way out.
Exit only, and all his parking is angled so that
Yes.
if you go in that way, you can't get back in. But yeah, so it's like if you come in that drive when you go into the pay stations, well then people are exiting right there. So it could be a point where someone's trying to pull into the pay station, someone's leaving, and I could see that kind of being.
I don't think you've got a whole lot of traffic in that medical center at any given moment.
Oh, yes, I drove by there at 5 and no one was there.
Well, there's cars there, but I don't know that you got a lot of cars at any given time.
I'm just thinking our cars.
Well, if the other ones don't have a lot going there, it just makes it better for you.
Oh yeah, it does, yeah.
Other questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll start our public hearing. And let me lay out the ground rules. Any Bartlett citizen who would like to speak for or against may do so when called upon. Both sides, for and against, will get a total of 20 minutes, and each individual speaker gets 3 minutes. We will alternate between for and against for each speaker. When you come to the podium, please state your name and address. So anyone who wants to speak, first person wants to speak in favor, please come on forward. Okay, that might be easy. All right, then. Anyone who would like to speak against? Anybody want to come? Well, somebody come. Whoever wants to speak, please come to the podium here. Give us your name and address for the record, please.
Genevieve Cooper. My address is 3101 Sycamore View on the corner of Sycamore View and Blackwell. And if you want to know what traffic's all about, come sit on my front porch. We have movies every night with the school traffic. And that, I mean, from Appling to Shelby Street are major intersections, and there's always accidents there. And you have this wanting to be right at an intersection that is not accessible, according to my logic. And I don't think anybody, I'm not opposed to them building a car wash anywhere, but not there, not in this area where we live, because there's no room. The high school kids, you know, there's a lot of cars that come from Stage onto Sycamore View, Yale onto Sycamore View, and they both come this way and go down Blackwell. And that's the route every morning and every afternoon, and with all the extracurriculum activities, much more through the evenings. So I think that this is not a safe place for them, and it's not a safe place for our high school people. And being in the historic district, I don't think it is a necessary build in our area. And that's how I feel about it.
Thank you.
Okay?
All right, let me make sure again. Is there anybody speaking in favor? Okay, then the next person who wants to speak against, please come forward. Name and address, please.
My name's Alan Higdon. I live at 2928 Court Street, next to the Historic District. And some of y'all know me. I'm a business person, and I'm all about business and the growth. And I'm sitting here looking at our seal, commerce. Bartlett was built on commerce, but it needs to be built on responsible commerce. I was looking at the parcel. And I think, Ms. Taylor, if I'm correct, city owns the property across the street from it, or a lot of it. The Municipal Center all the way down to the solid waste area. So I ask that everybody be very concerned of what type of business goes across from city-owned property that has the ambience that we have in our city. You know, I'm about any kind of investor that wants to risk their capital and invest in today's world in Bartlett, except for another convenience store, tattoo parlor, title loan, and maybe a car wash. And, you know, I thought there was 2 car washes in there already, and I was wrong. On the way down here, I saw a third one. There's one behind the Exxon that's abandoned. So I just don't get the business side of the car wash. And a couple of y'all made a couple of observations about the depth of that property. I'm not a skilled developer, but I've done some developments, and it's deep, it's isolated, and it would be a tough area to monitor at night. You know, our police department has a real challenge in monitoring certain areas of Bartlett already. And in the historic area, this parcel is not in the historic district, but I think it's probably the only vacant parcel, the closest vacant parcel to the historic district. So it's pretty close. And I've got some concerns of what's going on in West Bartlett and maintaining the core values that we have, and the Bartlett station, if you would, and some of the levels that we want to maintain. Architecture's great. The building's cute. It's pretty. The landscape looks good. The green space looks good. The buffers look good. But the traffic count's a whole nother story. So, I'd love to see something really nice go in that parcel besides a car wash. Anyway, thank y'all for listening.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to speak against? Yes, ma'am. Come forward. Please give us your name and address, please.
Leah Pearson, 2771 Satellite. I'm against it there's a car wash right close to where it's at. Why do we need so many so close together? The traffic's going to be horrendous. And I think there's other businesses, like he said, nicer businesses that Bartlett needs. And they mentioned there's no gate around it. I know with a lot of car washes, it breeds problems. I think 5, 6, 7 months ago, a lady was robbed at the one on Germantown Parkway. Took her purse and stuff. But might not have happened had there been a gate, and he couldn't have drove up and snatched him while she was vacuuming, But that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to speak against?
Hey.
Name and address for the record, please.
David Angley. This is my wife, Heather. We own the car wash on the west and the transmission shop behind it. To speak to your question about loitering, you're not going to stop it. 2, we've already had problems with break-ins. It's noted. We've been trying to get the cops, but everybody's overloaded and undermanned, and we get that. But we're having a heck of a time keeping it straight and keeping it safe. Traffic is going to be killer. We're blocked by those trees, and you see how we have our buffers in our parking lot. People cut through because they don't want to sit at a red light, and they cut through those buildings flying and fly through. I almost got hit. Come through my bays out onto stage, and then they go right or left. So it's fixing to get worse. And my thing is, y'all already put out a proposal. I don't know if it's y'all, but Memphis talking about 64% increase in traffic alone through the city. And y'all are going to put another car wash right on top of me? Literally next door. It makes no sense. There's already one, like y'all said, abandoned over here at Exxon. And I talked to that guy. I was going to buy it and get it at least going. And nobody wants to talk. So, I can't imagine. It's all I can do to keep up with what I got. I got 6 of them. Okay? And like I said, when I'm sitting here trying to run these things, and I can't get help from the city as it is, not just y'all, but overall, because I got them down south too, is getting the manpower to keep the loitering and the break-ins and the speeding through the parking lots. We're stretched. And I don't know what y'all's answer to that would be. Because like I said, I almost get hit every time I come into my own car wash because nobody's paying attention. They're on their phone. So without further ado, like I said, I don't know what else to say other than, it looked good, but it is literally right next door. And as long as they keep them trees up between us, it's not that I don't want to see his business. It looked great, but I don't want people cutting through. We already have enough cutting through in that corner now. If we open all that up as an easement, somebody's going to get killed. Now, that's my thought. I don't know what you got. But.
I just don't think we need another car wash right next to a car wash. So, that's all I got.
Thank you.
Can I clarify? Can I get a clarification real quick?
Sure.
John, when you said there would be a cross access, were you talking about with the proposed development as it crosses the red property line there, or?
Yes.
So you were talking about with their car wash, with this car wash, or with just one point?
No. So, item 20 is in the engineering conditions is for the possibility of doing a shared egress.
Just right there.
Right there.
Yeah, because on the west side of the property, there's curb and gutter, and it's like you said, David, if the trees are kept there, there won't be any cross-through traffic. So that wouldn't be an issue. Now, the others, I agree with you, but that one I don't think would be an issue, as long as that landscaping is kept. But I just want to get that clarification from you, John. So it's just at one point.
Has anybody talked to One Point and said, hey, we're going to use your driveway?
They're the ones selling it. Isn't that right, Kim? Yes.
And they're all right with it.
Well, and we haven't discussed, the engineering department hasn't discussed the possibility of a shared driveway with Dr. Otto's medical complex, but he is the one that is going to be subdividing and selling it all. So it's his property.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got a question. I think when we're talking apples and oranges when we talk about the different car washes. I mean, I understand you have a car wash, but is yours not a handheld one? And this is a drive-through.
I'm against it.
Pardon?
I'm not against it. I never said I was.
Okay. I thought you've...
What it's bringing.
Oh.
Traffic is what I said. The business, but you're literally trying to put it right beside one where they're already having traffic. At mine, I'm having enough issue where I'm at.
Okay.
So you're going to put another, and it's not apples and oranges. If we go out there on that road, I can show you.
Yeah.
It won't take you long to see what I'm talking about.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Would the applicant want to come forward and address anything that's been said?
Yes, sir. And I appreciate all y'all's concerns. I think they're all very valid concerns that I would have, as a citizen. The city car wash, we've got these in Collierville. We got one coming up in Lakeland. One in South Haven's open. And the type of people that are there, I mean, the old, the conception of, this old connotation of what car wash used to be, where there was lots of shootings, and that's changed. And that's where the opportunity has come for what we've done, which we've made a really nice place. It's very well lit. If you go by and look at one of ours on Germantown Parkway, it's all compliant with the lighting ordinances, but it's just well lit, so it's not a very conducive place to park. And we have multiple employees on site, and we don't have any cash either, so there's no reason for someone to come in at night, and surprisingly, no one has. And we're washing a lot. We see a lot of people through those things, and so I feel like the car wash is not going to necessarily bring. I think everyone will use it, and when the trends show that the amount of people who are using car washes in 1994 was like 50%, and now it's up to like 78 or 80% of people now are using these express washes because we can get into water conservation, but we do all the reclaim tanks and put all the water back through the wash, where washing your home or people don't have time for it anymore. But it's a service that I think everybody uses. Again, we run a tight ship, and you can go look at our washes. I think that's the biggest testament, really. The three washes we have, I was just looking at it today. Today's where you just look at reviews, because that's really where everybody complains. We'll put it on there. At Germantown Parkway, it's like 600 reviews at 4.7, which is really hard to do. Collierville was like 4.9 with 200 reviews, and in South Haven's 4.8. And so, I mean, you look at Chick-fil-A, and Chick-fil-A we all love Chick-fil-A, but they're like 4.6. I don't know who would leave a bad review, but yeah, I mean, we run a tight ship, and that's our success, is like we're going to run a clean place. So I think that we can talk more about that, and I can try to alleviate some concern maybe with a visit at one of our other washes. But you look at the people there, it's just good people. So from what I've seen, sorry, I'll be quicker. The car wash next door, it is two different types of washes. One's a bay wash. This is the express model, which is it's kind of what it's going to. You see with everything else in the world, people are just moving forward, and I think the good thing about bay wash, and I think there's positives to having is that you're going to you can't wash your big truck, a lot of mud. You can't put your trailer through a car wash. Like, there's some limitations. I think the Baywatch, there's some, and there's going to be competitiveness, but that's part of that's how we all get better and innovate. But the traffic is a tricky one. I mean, we look at it if there's accidents at the car wash that we're going to invest all of our money in, then it becomes a problem. No one wants to go there. It becomes a real problem. And so, Germantown Parkway, I've looked at these other, that's not a great comparison because it's got the median, but there's 55,000. It's like double the traffic right there. And we've got a nice system. It flows. We haven't had any accidents in front of our site. Collierville is another case study. It's probably 30,000 cars, and it's very similar. It's very busy at 5 o'clock. And we just have wide enough. I think we kind of addressed it with that double lane, but it may not meet y'all's codes, but that kind of gave multiple people exits and entrances to leave the car wash. But I would like to look more at the traffic because I do want to make sure that works for us as well. And then loitering, this is a struggle with everything. It doesn't matter where you go. There's probably robberies at Chick-fil-A at some point. But we've just been really good at staying on top of that, and that's kind of our competency. Is like we're clean, it's safe, and if we don't have that, then no one's going to come, or not enough people to support the business financially at least. So yeah, that's it. And I would love to talk with everybody or individually and see if there's a way to just kind of get to a middle ground there. So thank y'all.
All right, thank you.
Can I make just a comment?
Sure, yes.
There's going to be traffic generated, I would think, whether there's a car wash there or anything else. Ware Guerin is right on the corner. They haven't been in business for quite some time, but that's another traffic issue. So I'm not sure how the traffic issue gets solved down the road, because it's going to happen at some point. Just a comment.
Other discussion from the commissioners? Any comments, questions? All right, if not, then I would ask for a motion. I would remind you the staff has provided some language they would like to be included in the motion.
I did have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, we've already opened for, at any rate, we're going to hear the letters of opposition. Is that
That's
something
what I
we
was
should
about to
hear?
ask.
Okay.
I think there's some letters that were sent in to the
We
office.
did. We got 2, and then we got a picture emailed to us. It did not have any wording with it, but it's a picture of, I guess, the traffic on Stage Road outside of it. We got a letter from Alan Higdon, who spoke tonight as well in opposition. And then we did get another letter from a Dr. Patricia Milliken at 2923 Sycamore View, if you'd like me to read it.
Does anybody want to hear the letter? Go ahead.
Okay. Dear Director Taylor, I have just learned the distressing possibility of a large car wash facility being installed on stage next to On Point. There is a smaller facility already in that area. I cannot think of any positive value it would bring to this area. Those of us who reside in the historic district and area surrounding it have been very much looking forward to the talked about innovations being made to the strip center at Sycamore View and Stage. We are in hopes of businesses coming in that are more upscale in the nature of retail, good restaurants, a coffee house. This area has long needed an upgrade. This proposed car wash will lessen the economic potential of such shops and more likely even discourage them being established here. It could also very easily lessen our property values. To be frank, in the vernacular, another car wash, particularly one of this size, will simply cheapen the area. Another factor to consider, we have been told that much of the crime in Bartlett is coming from Raleigh. Would this car wash simply encourage more traffic from that area? Such a business will also increase traffic along this part of Stage. It is already somewhat difficult to exit the library, and there are often long lines on Sycamore View waiting to enter Stage. This proposed facility will only add more traffic to deal with. Thank you for considering my request to deny the car wash being placed here. I know there are going to be many others with some very strong concerns.
Thanks. Any other questions, requests from the commissioners? Again, seeing none, I would ask for a motion.
Well, I would move that we forward this with a recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for the car wash special use permit with conditions that still have to be resolved. And it can either come back to us once they're resolved in terms of the traffic in and out and the drives, those type things, or it can be taken to the board, whichever way works best.
Second, I think.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Before I call for a vote, a reminder that if there's a no vote, please state a reason for doing so. Call a roll, please.
Paul Kaiser,
Yes.
David Hunt,
Yes.
Jim Lamb,
Yes.
Alderman Young,
Yes.
Curtis Ziegler,
No. And it's due to traffic, and it's due to the aesthetics of the vacuums being seen from the public right-of-way.
John Conroy.
Yes.
Okay.
Item carries. All right, we'll move on to our next item, which is a plan development for the Austin Plan Development at the southern terminus of Christian Lane. And we'll start out hearing from Director Taylor once again.
The applicant, Kevin Bray, with the Bray Firm, is requesting approval of a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for the Austin Plan Development for a new single-family housing development. The new development will be located at the southern terminus of Christian Lane in the Alpine Gray subdivision off of Chatelain Road and Alpine Gray Drive, and it is located within the RS-15 residential single-family zoning district. The subject property is a 9.82 acre site that will be subdivided into an 18-lot residential subdivision with a 1.16 acre common open space area. The lot sizes will range from 15,030 square feet to 26,566 square feet. The lot sizes will be similar to those in the adjacent Alpine Gray subdivision. Access to the subdivision will be from the existing Christian Lane street stub through the Alpine Gray subdivision. A temporary turnaround will be located on the west end of Christian Lane for the future connection to Shadowbrook Drive, which will then take you to the Chatelain Place subdivision when the land between the two subdivisions is developed. Stormwater detention will be located within a common open space area. Staff has reviewed this application and recommend approval of a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen with the attached conditions. Should the Board of Mayor and Aldermen approve this request, the applicant will return to this commission with both construction and final plan applications.
Questions for Director Taylor? Guess not. Would the applicant come forward, please? Name and address for the record.
Kevin Bray with the Bray Firm, 2950 Stage Plaza North.
Rolene Saunders Austin. I'm a local realtor as well, and I dwell at 26 Fairview Trail, Bahia, Mississippi.
Curtis Austin, general contractor, 26 Fairview Trail, Bahia, Mississippi.
Have you had an opportunity to review the staff report, or are you in agreement with the conditions? We have questions for the applicant.
I do not have any for the applicant, but I did want to ask engineering. I'm assuming you all have looked the plans over and you are comfortable with drainage in this area? Okay, all right. And utilities are adequate as well? Okay.
All right. Thank you. You can take your seats again for the moment. All right. Once again, we will proceed as we did in the previous item with a public hearing. People opportunity to speak for and against this proposal. Again, each individual speaker would have 3 minutes with a total of 20 minutes for each side. We'll alternate for and against. So I would ask if there's anybody here to speak in favor of this, please come forward at this point. Okay. Then anyone who wishes to speak in opposition may come forward at this time. Sir, if we could have your name and address for the record.
Yes, Tim Williams, 7586 Alpine Gray Drive. Basically, there's only one entrance going to the subdivision, which is going to drastically increase traffic coming through our subdivision. We already have enough speeders coming through as it is. Also, my other concern is infrastructure. I mean, if you sneeze, the power goes out. So with these extra houses, I don't know what's being done to bolster their electrical load infrastructure. But again, that's also a concern of mine as well. I really don't see any value being added. I did come and look at the plans and things like that, so I can't say that the lots are inferior to ours and things like that. I'm not worried about that at all. But again, I'm just worried about those two things, period. Thank you.
Yes, Lawrence Benneman. I stay at 7668 Alpine Gray. My biggest concern is just like Tim's, it being that the traffic is going to be a one-way coming through our homeowner association, Alpine Gray. We're just wanting to know if that's going to be the case, then that one entrance is going to cause a lot more traffic, like you said, coming in and coming around, going through Romero in order for them to access their facilities or their the homeowners' homes. If we in the future are looking at gating, doing a gate for our community, having a gated community, and that's going to cut off their access, how is that going to be viewed then if they only have one entrance using our entrance to come in?
Thank you. As staff, is there a graphic we can put up that illustrates the traffic issue or the access? Have we got one that shows a broader area than that?
Or is there an aerial?
So this is the intersection of Alpine Gray and Christian Lane right here, and this is the access to Chatelaine Road right here.
Well, that's actually
the access to Alpine Gray plant development.
Say that.
Sam, can you zoom out a little bit more? So I guess to answer your question, you know that originally when those phases of Alpine Gray were designed and constructed, they were set up with those two stub streets, the one right there, and the other one further to the south. Forget what the name is there, Sam. A little bit further to the south.
There's two more.
Back over.
Shadowview Drive.
Yeah, thank you, Shadowview Drive. So, I mean, the bottom line is if they're coming in off of Shadowlawn Road, the new residents to this new section, yeah, it's going to increase the traffic through there to get to this new section. I mean, that's, that's the way it was. That's the way it was originally laid out, was for there to be a stub street there to the south to be able to connect up future phases to Alpine Gray. So it was initially designed for these other phases to be able to be developed in this area right here. Whether residents come in off of Shadowlawn up there to the north, or whether they come around through Guy Road, yeah, the traffic would be increased due to the amount of lots that are being developed. But those were designed for those stub streets to accommodate future phases.
Are there two roads right there where that arrow is off, what'd you say, Gala Road? What are those two roads? Yeah, right there. Right there to the left. There's two going into the tree lines.
Right here. So yes, this is Shadowlawn Place subdivision to the south, and yes, it does connect to Alpine Gray Plan development.
What about the two roads right next to Shadowlawn though? Those do not go into that development or can't go into it?
Are you talking about this section right here?
No, right there. What are those?
So this is the future extension. As the Austin Plan development, their Christian Lane comes down here, and they have a future alignment that stops right here with the temporary turnaround. And the plan is to have that connect to the Shadowlawn Place subdivision as another cross alternate connection. However, you have these 2 5-acre residential tracts in between, and they have to opt to subdivide their property to make that connection happen. However, when they do subdivide that property, one of the requirements will be making this connection right here.
What about the road just above that? It's the same issue?
So that is a cove.
Okay.
What about the gentleman's question about if
gated?
If one of them chooses, if Alpine, I guess it is, chose to try to put a gate up.
Put a gate up where?
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that's.
And then the back side of Shadowline Road doing a gate to cut off so our homeowners association and the homeowners, so we can be a gated community.
With that.
We don't have the through traffic.
With that being a public road and it being a subdivision, I don't think that would be allowed unless converting it to a PD.
It's not a public road. It's where our connection off Shadowlawn is Romero, which is a part of our subdivision that we can actually put a gate there to cut off that access into that subdivision.
I believe this is not a regular subdivision.
This is Alpine Gray is a planned development.
And with it being a planned development, you could not automatically just put gates up to shut that down. That would require a change to the planned development, which would mean that you would have to get that request amended through first the Planning Commission and then the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, with the majority of the property owners within your subdivision signing that they are in agreement for that. And at that time, right now, your streets are open to the public and they can be serviced by the city of Bartlett. If you were to gate that, then all of that expense would be become a requirement for the plan, the HOA. Basically, will be responsible for all the street improvements and whatnot for that subdivision.
Questions for Kim?
How many, Kim, let me ask you a question. It appears to me that if you came in off right there and went down Alpine Gray, I guess it is, and then curved to the right to where the stub would be, you're going to impact 15 lots? I mean, it's hard to count, but there doesn't appear, I mean, it's not like that impacts the entire subdivision. And you're only talking about adding 18 lots. I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding. Am I seeing that right?
Yeah, it would be like 16 lots that would be affected.
Okay.
Is this a situation where a traffic study would give us any more facts to understand the traffic issue itself?
David, can you repeat that word, traffic?
The word traffic, additional traffic, has been brought up obviously on the whole process. Do we know what the car count would be? Do we know what that really means in terms of normal traffic counts to show that it's correct or not?
No, I don't know what the normal traffic counts are. Just I know that the roads entering the subdivision off of Shadowlawn, and then Ramella, and then the Stubb Street that's going to go into this proposed development are more than adequate to handle the traffic, for these lots in this proposed phase.
Well, yeah, to that point, it looks like there's two entrances you can get into that subdivision versus just one. You got off of Shadowlawn and you got it up at the other left-hand corner. It's not just one going in there.
Oh, yeah.
Also, this section of Alpine Gray was an addition, and this added 18 lots to the planned development. So as far as the traffic impact, this was very similar.
Down the road, then, one more time, thank you, Sam.
This portion, the aerial here is a little dated. This portion was approved as the first edition of Alpine Gray planned development, and so this has been built and finished. And this amendment to the PD, it added 18 lots to their planned development. And so as far as a traffic impact, this was very similar, just as a comparison's sake.
Right. But you'd mentioned about when I was pointing out that the lower road off of Shadowlawn, at some point the issue could be pushed forward to add another access into this new community, possibly.
That's correct.
Okay. So there is options out there someday.
But if I understand it, as of right now, there's no other way into this property.
Right.
Okay, any more questions for staff? All right, would the applicant want to address any of the concerns they've heard?
Does anybody else want to speak against me?
I think we exhausted.
Okay.
No, sorry.
All right, any discussion among the board? All right, seeing none, then could I get a motion?
I make a motion to forward a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for the for this new subdivision.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Paul Kaiser,
Yes.
David Hunt,
Yes.
Jim Lamb,
Yes.
Alderman Young,
Yes.
Curtis Sigler,
Yes.
John Conroy.
Yes.
Okay.
That item carries. Thank you. Jennifer, is anybody? Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't realize there was another person out there. I apologize. Yes, go ahead. Come forward, please.
After 7686, I had a letter that sent in. So, and y'all didn't ask about that. I live at 7686 Shadowbrook Drive, so the proposed second entrance. And I don't know if you still have the map pulled up, but I don't know. I'm sure Christine Lane and Shadowbrook Drive Lane, they're not wide streets. They're not the main thoroughfares. So you've got residents that are parking on their streets, which means there's only one room for one car to come through. So in addition to having traffic issues, you now have cars pulling in between from this whole subdivision and eventually the second phase that are going to potentially be interacting with families with children, which are all over this neighborhood, which are all over Bartlett. So my concern is Shadowbrook and Christian Lane are what I would call thin roads to be making main entrances into a new subdivision. So, as well as my traffic issue. So I had a letter that had more of that, but the new part that was not in my letter is Shadowbrook. I'm second from the end of the cove is a very thin road, and Christine's the same way. So if you have residents parking there, you have one lane traffic between the cars. And I see that as a safety issue. Because Shadow View is the main thoroughfare, and it is wide.
Would that need to be an issue to be addressed based on growth in that area? That goes as part, would go to open up that road if it happens one day?
I would think it would have to be. I'm not sure what your name was, but you said it was originally part of at one time part of the design to develop that area, but if it was, I would think they would not be using very thin cove driveways to be thoroughfares.
John, does that make sense?
I'll be honest with you, the road width along there, I'm not sure what the right-of-way widths are over there.
50. I mean, if you zoom in on the Shadowbrook Grove and Shadowview Lane, you can see how much thinner it is, and you've got cars parked, residents park in that cove. And now you've got potential a second entrance, and Christine's going to be the same way. But you're opening up that area for more traffic where I live. I'm in that cove.
There still are minimum width roads, which are more than enough to be adequate.
Well, the Cove Road wouldn't qualify for that anyway.
I'm not sure what that means.
Well, I mean, as far as
it wouldn't be a through road.
You wouldn't develop the roads to go into a new section down the road. If that's a cove, that would just remain a cove, wouldn't it? And I thought you were referring that would be also a road that would go through, which is not, wouldn't be correct, would it?
In my opinion, it seems to be too thin of a road to be a thoroughfare road.
Okay.
To be a primary entrance to this entrance, a secondary primary. So that's my issue.
Sir, again, my apologies.
And Kim, just for clarification, this will go to the Board of Mayor of Aldermen, correct? So yes, he could speak.
That is correct.
At that
this gets
meeting.
Forwarded either way to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
Okay. So you could speak at that meeting as well, sir. At the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
The pencil date for that public hearing is August 22nd. However, this has to be an agenda item at the July 25th Board of Mayor and Aldermen for the Mayor and Aldermen to set that public hearing for August 22nd.
Is the first
So
available
the
one?
public hearing will be August 22nd.
That's for his benefit?
Yes.
I got it, okay.
All right. Jennifer, did anybody sign up to speak at the end of the meeting?
No, not for the open discussion.
Not for, yeah, okay, thank you. All right, then, thank you very much. That concludes our meeting.
I have one question, please. I'm sorry. To the planning staff or even to the building department, and I've slipped since then, so I may have missed this, but on Kirby Witten, right next to Pinnacle Bank, there is a development going on where it looks like some plumbing rough-in has been done. And I know at one point in time, McDonald, that was owned by McDonald companies or whatever. Not McDonald's, the food chain, but just the name McDonald's. And I don't know if it's been sold. I know last month when we were looking at the subdivision plan behind the dry cleaners, it was labeled as McDonald. My question to you is I haven't seen anything come in front of this board of any development for that piece of property. And
Fast Pace.
Huh?
Fast Pace Medical.
Fast Pace Medical?
Yes.
Okay. Would that have not, did that come?
It did, yeah.
Okay. It
Yeah,
may
that
have been
was
before my
in-
time then.
Yeah, 2019 or so.
2019, yeah.
Yeah,
Before,
they hit a log
before me.
jam.
Okay.
They hit a
I
log
just-
jam with the sewer issue. And then
Okay.
we finally were able to resolve the sewer issue, and so that opened them up.
Got it. Thank you.
But I didn't remember.
All right. Any of the
I
other
appreciate it.
commissioners,
Thanks.
any other commissioners have anything? If not, thank you. We stand adjourned.
All right.